Okay, so I want to record. I want to share with everybody who wasn't at the meeting last night everything I talked about and give you the basics of lease options and owner financing. All right, so I am going to stop my video right now so that I can get up and walk around and make faces, and y'all won't see that. Okay, y'all ready? Let me stop sharing the screen and let's go. All right, so I have to start this presentation by letting you know exactly how I got here. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of a time travel, and I have to say thank you so much to Victor Jernigan and the Knox RIA, because seriously, without Victor Jernigan up front and pouring out all of his years of knowledge and information, I would not have learned about lease options. And without the Knox RIA and the people in the Knox RIA really helping me and supporting me, I promise y'all I would not have done probably any of these deals ever. So if you are not a member of the Knox RIA and you're interested in real estate investing at all, and you're in Knoxville, please, 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 next month, on the second Tuesday of the month, go to the Holiday Inn on Cedar Bluff and join the Knoxville RIA. I cannot say enough things about the Knox RIA. And this is Victor Jernigan. He is one of the smartest men that I've ever met in my entire life. And he has probably forgotten more about real estate than I'll ever know in my life. And he spoke at an event that I had in Knoxville back in December of 2017. It was amazing. I learn new things every time I hear him talk. But in October of 2013, I had bought 2 houses, used all my money to buy 2 houses, and then I found out about the Knox RIA and Victor Jernigan. So I started going to these meetings, and Victor stands up front at the meetings, and he's the president of the Knox RIA, and he talks all about real estate deals that are going on. Like, I don't think there's a real estate deal that goes on in Knox County or the surrounding areas, or at least there's not a big real estate deal that goes on that he doesn't know about. Like, he knows so much about real estate, so many key players in Knoxville that you need to know if you're going to be doing real estate. But he introduced this term to me, and he said that the Knox RIA in November of 2013, they were going to have a 2-night special presentation on lease options. And in October of 2013, I had a real estate license. I had my auctioneer's license. I bought 2 houses. I was completely out of money. And I honestly, y'all, thought that I knew everything I needed to know about real estate, and the rest of it would just happen naturally throughout my life. Like, I just figured one day I'd wake up and be rich. But Victor told me something very important. And he may not have said it in these exact words, but he did say that he has ways of making money that I know nothing about. And the biggest thing that Victor taught me was about lease options. There was going to be another man who was going to be given the presentation on lease options. And I told Victor that I would love to come to this event, but I frankly just did not have the money, because Victor was charging $75 to come to this meeting, and I did not have the money. I didn't have $75 to my name at all. I'd used all my money to buy a house, and I'd borrowed all my brother's money to buy a house, and I was flat broke. Victor told me that if I would come to this meeting, this 2-night event in November, and if I didn't learn anything, he would give me my $75 back. So I said, all right, old man, I'll take you up on that. I'll be there. And y'all, I went to that first night, that first event, and within 15 minutes, I knew Victor had created a monster. I fell in love with lease options within 15 minutes of being at that very first meeting about lease options. And this is a picture of me in November of 2015, exactly 2 years to the day of when I very first even heard about what a lease option was. And I was at the Knox RIA, and I was teaching a mini seminar on lease options. Victor Jernigan created a monster when he introduced me to lease options, and I will never be able to thank him enough. So that's how I started with lease options. Today, Y'all know, hey, I'm Whitney Nicely. I'm the broker for Whitney Buys Houses. I am a real estate auctioneer. I'm an investor. I'm a traveler. I'm a dog mom. But I was born as a real estate investor. I was born to be a real estate investor. I know down in my soul, like way down in my gut, that I was born to invest in real estate. And if that's something that you know that you have on your heart, and that's one of the passions that you have in life, leave me a comment or send me a message and say, yes, I absolutely know. Maybe I don't know how to get there, but I absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, know I'm born to be a real estate investor. But it didn't start out that way. All right, y'all, I got to tell you, I am from a small town outside of Knoxville, Tennessee called Powell. We spell it P-A-L. And this is the kind of like Mayberry town where everybody wants to grow up. And now Powell is this like big, nice, fancy place. But 15 years ago, when I graduated high school there, it was Mayberry. We didn't lock our doors, and even if we accidentally lock our doors, half the neighborhood, and definitely all of my friends, all my brother's friends, everybody knew where the key was, so you might as well not lock the doors. Like, that's just where I grew up. A small little country town north of Knoxville. Grew up with my mom and my dad and my baby brother, who is bigger than I am. My parents, though, did not go to college. They were raised in a generation of people that you didn't go to college unless you were going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like really professional, right? So neither one of my parents went to college. My dad wore overalls every single day of his working life. I remember being a kid and dad would leave for work at the middle of the night and he'd have on overalls. So when I graduated from college, I thought I needed to wear overalls. I needed a uniform. I needed, to go to work and wear overalls as my uniform. And so here I am in overalls, and actually I'm wearing my Tennessee hat. And this hat means a lot to me because my parents didn't have a college education. They figured a lot of things out through trial and error and through the school of hard knocks. But every little bit of money that they could squirrel away, they put into real estate investing. My mom bought her first rental house in 1978, and it wasn't a rental house when she bought it. It was the house that she lived in, and then the house that my parents lived in after they got married. It was the house that we were living in when I was born. And then when Tyler was born, Mom and Dad bought the house out in Powell, and we started renting the old house when we moved to the new house. So I was literally born a real estate investor. But my parents used the extra money that they made from real estate to pay for my college and to pay for my brother's college. Because that's what you can do with real estate investing. You save all the money, you buy what you can, and then you use the money that comes in every month in the future. Or at least that's what my parents taught me to believe. They invested in real estate. Dad was a train engineer, and Mom worked for her father's company, which was a dump truck company. And I am the fourth generation entrepreneur, all right? We've had this trucking company since 1939. After college, I had this little battle inside. Do I want to go to work for the family company? Do I want to do something on my own? What am I going to do? And I ultimately decided, because I graduated in 2007, I decided to go to work for the family company. Now, when I graduated high school in 2003 and I went to UT, my mom was making $19,000 a year. And every extra little bit of money they could find, they bought houses. Not a whole lot, but they had 2 or 3 or 4 rental houses by the time I graduated college. And I literally became my mom. When I went to work at the family trucking company, I went from being a cute little sorority girl and, doing college things to wearing a hard hat and steel-toed boots every single day and working at the trucking company. Our bucks came from trucks. On the weekends, while I was working at the trucking company, I would go to auctions and buy furniture at auctions, and then I'd put it up on Craigslist and I'd flip furniture. Then I figured out, you know what? We got all these dump trucks. I wonder if I can flip these dump trucks. So I started flipping dump trucks. And it turned out that the dirty old men that were coming to buy our dump trucks liked talking to this cute little sorority girl. Y'all, I sold so many dump trucks, but all the while flipping furniture on Craigslist also. And what I was doing, I didn't know it at the time, but what I was doing, I was practicing. I was practicing negotiating. I was practicing advertising. I was practicing talking to people that I didn't know and convincing them to buy this big, heavy machinery from me. And I woke up one day and realized I had become my mom. We were dressing alike. We were talking alike. I was working at the same job that my mom had always had. And I was making about $24,000 a year. I was making more than my mom was, and my mom had been there for 30 years. And I just thought to myself, like, gosh, is this what I'm going to do for my whole life? Is this all I'm going to be able to do? And then one day, Mom was making deposits from the rental income. And I said, Mom, what's that? She said, well, you know, we rent these houses and people pay us rent every month, and we use that money to make ends meet. I said, well, wait a second. You get this money in the mailbox every single month. Why don't I get any money in the mailbox every single month? And she was like, well, duh, Whitney, you got to go buy something first. And a lot of people think this is where my mom sat me down and had this great conversation about cash flow and Robert Kiyosaki and investing for the long term and returns on investment and blah, 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 blah. But no, my mom had figured real estate out. She figured trucking out. She'd done it all the hard way. And she expected me to go out there and figure it out if I was going to. And I said, all right, here we go. So I knew that I wanted to be a real estate investor, but there had to be a better way than saving up all my money and then buying houses with cash, because that's what my mom and dad did. That's all I knew. And I didn't really know another way until I found the RIA, the Real Estate Investors Association. And at that meeting, I was hooked. I loved being around other people that were doing real estate deals or talking about real estate deals. And I just knew that this is going to be the place where I could go and learn about real estate more than what my mom could teach me. She'd already taught me everything she could, and I needed to learn more. So I went to the RIA meetings, and I came back home and I was telling my mom, hey, I'm learning about this thing called lease options, and I'm learning about owner financing, and I'm learning about subject to deals, and I'm learning about all this really cool stuff. And my mom said, Whitney, are you sure this is not illegal? Like, I don't want you wearing stripes. And I've been real estate investing since 1978. Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure you're not getting into something illegal? I said, no, Mom. All these other guys are doing this. They're talking about all this different stuff. It's not illegal. So I want to stop right now and clarify. If you're watching this, it is not illegal. Okay? Absolutely not illegal. It's creative. It's kind of weird sometimes, but it is not illegal. So, again, my mom only knew one way of investing. Buy a kitchen that looks kind of like it would be in a prison and turn it into something that a woman would like to cook in, and then hold it for the long term. My mom is very much a buy and hold investor. That's all she knew. That's all her daddy taught her. That's all my dad's parents knew. That's all we knew. Nothing about getting creative. But I knew there had to be a better way. So that first meeting that I went to, actually Bruce Barrett was teaching it in November of 2013. Victor Jernigan was there, but Bruce was teaching it. And I was late to this meeting. because one of our trucks had a wreck. It was raining that day, and I almost called Victor and said, you know what, just keep my $75. I'm not going to make it. Life has happened, and I'm just going to bow out. This is clearly not meant to be. But I didn't. Something stopped me. I had that voice in my head that said, no, Whitney, keep going. Keep going. If you show up late, it's fine. Go to that meeting. So I did. And when I got there, I'm telling you, I was in hook, line, and sinker for lease options within 15 minutes because Bruce Barrett was up and he was talking about all these deals and all this money he was making and all this great stuff that was going on. And he mentioned Ron LeGrand. Does anybody recognize the two gentlemen in the top picture there with me? If you know these guys, drop a comment. Tell me who it is. If you don't know who these guys are, that is Ron LeGrand and Jay Connor. And they were speaking at an event in Jacksonville, Florida in December of 2013 on owner financing. And once Bruce Barrett had said, you know, he learned lease options and owner financing from Ron LeGrand, 15 minutes into his presentation that night, I had pledged $3,000 that I did not have onto a credit card. I maxed out my credit card. I probably had to call and up my limit, but I knew that if Ron LeGrand had taught Jay Connor, had also taught Bruce Barrett how to do these lease option deals, and he was making all this money, I needed to go straight to Ron LeGrand and figure out how I could get this done myself. So I did. And the gentleman in the picture with me on the bottom was my boyfriend. And while I was at this event, he told me that I had church camp mentality. And when I got home, all these things that I'd learned would not happen. All of these dreams that I was creating in my head, it just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't come true. And I was basically wasting $3,000, and I was wasting a weekend of my life by being in Jacksonville, Florida to learn this information. He had all sorts of negative stuff to say about what I was trying to get into. So I listened to it for a minute and I thought, you know what? No. I know in my heart that I am destined to be a real estate investor. And if you have all these negative comments, if you've got all this stuff going on, that's your fault, buddy, because that's not me. I'm going to do this real estate thing. These guys are doing it. They say I can do it too. So I basically told him to hold my beer and watch this. And since I wasn't getting the support that I thought I needed, we ended up at a Krispy Kreme one morning, and I was going to do some real estate stuff. And Jason started telling me again how, you know, I've been talking to some sellers and I'd been seeing a little bit of success. And he started telling me again that it was a fluke and nobody else was going to want to work with me, and these deals wouldn't close, and I wouldn't ever make any money, and just all this stuff. So I finally said at the Krispy Kreme parking lot, I said, you know what? Go back to Georgia. I don't need this kind of negativity in my life. I know I'm going to be successful at this. I know I'm going to be good at this, and you need to just go back home. Now I'm going to pause the story right there, okay? And if it's okay with you, before we continue, I want to get your permission for just a second. So tell me in the comments right there if you are ready for me to really real estate nerd out. All right? If you want to hear some real estate, if you want to hear about these deals, tell me in the comments. Give me a yes. Give me a yes, and I'll keep going. Or if you don't want to hear anything else, then I'll stop right now. It's totally cool. So tell me, are y'all ready to nerd out? Let me check the comments. All right. Jason says yes. Yes. Ashley says yes. Okay. Awesome. Chandra says yes. All right. So let's get nerdy, y'all. In 2014, I did 14 deals and I made over $136,000. I went from $24,000 trucking every year to $136,000 in lease options. And I did it in 9 months. And these are pictures of me in front of all the houses that I bought that year. Real houses, not junky little houses, some pretty nice stuff, you know? Maybe some of these were 2015's houses also. But regardless, this is really me in front of real houses in East Tennessee. And while I was buying these houses, I came up with some rules. Now, these are my rules. They do not have to be your rules. And you can tell me my rules are crazy if you want to. That's fine. These are my rules. Okay? And you can use them if you want to. You can not if you want to. It's totally cool. But I created these rules in 2014 and 2015. Rule number 1, don't fall in love. Don't fall in love with these houses. I see women make this mistake every single day. They get really excited. They fall in love. They start decorating it. They start painting it in their head. They start doing all these things and planning all these things. And they start basically counting their money and counting their chickens before the eggs hatch. Don't fall in love with these houses, y'all. Rule number 1, don't fall in love. Rule number 2, I don't deal with real estate agents. I'm a broker for Whitney Buys Houses. I know the struggle that real estate agents are going through. I know the work that goes into being a real estate agent. My first listing was basically a textbook listing. It was absolutely perfect. I made $1,200 and that was it. It was not worth what I went through to get that deal done. And it took me like 6 months to make $1,200. So I basically made $200 a month. Nothing to get really excited about. But I also don't like to deal with real estate agents now, especially now, because most real estate agents are one-trick ponies. Most real estate agents only know how to list houses, or they only know how to represent buyers when they're buying a house. And most real estate agents aren't real estate investors. They may start out getting their license because they want to be a real estate investor, but most real estate agents very quickly get into the rat race of chasing a clear to close and representing other people in real estate transactions, and they never really get into real estate investing for themselves. Most real estate agents don't know anything about creative financing, lease options, owner financing, subject to wraps, none of that stuff. All they know how to do is list houses and sell them on the MLS. And I got to a place where the agents around me were calling me names, calling the commission on me, doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and I was still doing everything that I was supposed to be doing. So I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to fool with y'all anymore. I'll do what I do, and you can do what you do. So I don't deal with agents. My third rule for houses, when I buy houses, is that my seller must be current on payments. But even better is if they would be free and clear on the house and own it outright. Okay? I don't like the F word. I don't like to talk about foreclosures. Frankly, there's not many foreclosures around to talk about. I don't want anybody behind, and I don't want anybody in foreclosure. That's not how I deal. That's not who I work with. There's lots of people who would love to help people that are behind on payments or in foreclosure. I'm just not one of them. And finally, my last rule is that the house must be vacant. Like, I don't want anybody in the house when I buy it. Now, I'll give you some examples of some houses that I bought and how I bought them. And as I give you these examples, I think you're really going to realize how I came up with these rules and why I came up with these rules. So you can use these rules if you want to or not. It's totally up to you. Now let's talk about lease options and owner financing. get a pen and paper because you're going to want to write this down, or go ahead and just take a picture of it on your phone because I'm going to give you the definitions of a lease option and owner financing. Now, first off, lease options. In a very basic definition, a lease option is a really fancy rental agreement that also gives you the opportunity to buy the house in the future. Okay, I'm going to say that again. A lease option is a really fancy rental agreement. And it also gives you the opportunity to buy the house sometime in the future. So tell me, or actually, let me ask you, do you know anybody with a mortgage on their house? Tell me in the comments, do you know anybody with a mortgage on their house? Most people know somebody with a mortgage on their house. So I'm just going to assume you're saying yes and that you do know somebody with a mortgage on their house. Yes, here's the comments. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so if you know somebody with a mortgage on their house, do you also know somebody who rents their house out and has a mortgage on it? So if they've got this mortgage on this house, do they also rent the house to somebody else and they don't actually live in the house? Because that's not really weird, y'all. Lots of people have mortgages on houses and they rent the house out. Sometimes it's just that they got in a hurry to move and they couldn't sell the house fast enough and they just rent it. So they got two mortgages. That happens all the time. So if you know people with a mortgage and you know people who have a mortgage on their house and they rent it out, this isn't weird. You can rent a house if you have a mortgage on it. No bank is going to say, nope, we don't allow you to rent your house. All right, and if you know people with a mortgage on their house, if they decided to sell that house, would that be weird? No, that wouldn't be weird. We all know people that have a mortgage on their house and they decide to sell the house and the bank says, okay, fine, sell it, right? So a lease option is just combining the two things. It's a really fancy rental agreement that also gives you the opportunity to buy the house in the future. And I'll explain a little bit more about how that works, but the basics of lease options is just a fancy rental agreement that also gives you the right to buy the house. Now, owner financing is when the owner finances you the property. And in some parts of the country, you may call it seller financing. It's not really seller carryback, that's more in commercial real estate. But owner financing or seller financing, it's when the owner, the previous owner, becomes the bank and finances the property to you. It's when the owner decides to become a bank instead of a landlord, which is a lot less headaches because nobody calls the bank when the toilet gets clogged up, do they? But you call your landlord when the toilet gets clogged up, don't you? A lot of owners like becoming the bank because all that responsibility, all that upkeep, all that maintenance, all that stuff that happens when you're a landlord, it don't happen when you're the bank. Now, there's some other things that do come up when you're the bank instead of the landlord, but again, we'll handle that in just a second. So let me ask you, do you know anybody that has a house paid off? And I want you to think really hard about this because 25% of the houses in America are free and clear. There's not a lien on them. There's not a mortgage on them. So a quarter of the houses that you drive by are paid off. And some parts of the country have a higher percentage of free and clear houses, but there's still people in California that have their houses paid off. There's people that inherit places all across the country, and mom and dad had it paid off years ago. So think about it. Do you know anybody that has a house free and clear? Because a lot of times what happens is when the house is free and clear, people lose interest in it. And I know that seems silly because the goal is to get the house paid off, right? But a lot of times when people get the house paid off, they just don't pay that much attention to it anymore. People pay attention to what they pay for. And once it's paid for, they don't pay any attention anymore, or not as much. So a lot of times people inherit houses that are free and clear, and they leave the house sitting empty because it doesn't cost them anything but taxes and insurance once a year. But that also means that once a year, they kind of want to sell it. And if you will walk up to them at a time when they're looking to sell and you say, hey, how about I start sending you some money every month? They might say, okay. And we have now created an owner financing situation. When they agree to take monthly payments for the sale of their property, they are now owner financing the property to you. Because this is when the owner or the seller becomes the bank. All right, that was lease options and owner financing. The basic definitions, okay? It's nothing weird yet, right? I want to let you know that when I buy houses, I will buy houses with a lease option. I will start making somebody's monthly mortgage payment for them. I will buy houses with a lease option. I will also buy houses with owner financing. I love buying houses with owner financing. Like, it's kind of my favorite way to buy houses because the title actually transfers to my name in owner financing. In lease options, I get a really nice fancy rental agreement, but the title doesn't actually transfer to my name in a lease option. So owner financing is a lot heavier duty. But I will buy with lease options and I will buy with owner financing. When I go to sell houses, quote unquote sell houses, I sell houses with a lease option only because for that exact same reason I just told you. I want to sell and give Joe Blow down the street the opportunity to buy this house from me in the future, but I don't want to transfer title to his name. If he up and leaves me in the middle of the night, I want to be able just to void his contract and have somebody else move into the house next weekend. If I owner finance the property to him, I have to foreclose on him. I have to let all of his debtors know. I have to put it in the paper. I have to wait maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, some states a year before I can re-rent that house. So we buy with owner financing, we buy with lease options, but I only sell with lease options. I do not sell on owner financing. All right, and if you're a real estate nerd, I can hear you back there saying, but Whitney, what about subject to? And what about wraparound mortgages? And what's a lease purchase? So let's handle that real quick right here, okay? Subject to is when you buy the house subject to the mortgage staying in the seller's name. But the title will transfer to your name. And when the title transfers to your name, but the mortgage stays in the seller's name, that goes in 2 different columns. And the bank sees that transfer of title and they go, hold up, wait a minute, what's going on here? And it sends up this red flag at the bank, and the bank says, wait a second, I don't want the title to be in Whitney Nicely's name. I wanted it to be in John and Jane Smith's name. If they've done something weird on this, I'm just going to call the whole note due. And so the bank has the right to call the note due. Now, they don't usually call the note due, but I can't lose sleep over wondering whether or not the bank is going to call the note due just because I wanted to transfer title to my name. It makes everything just a little bit cranky, a little bit different. And honestly, if your attorney wants you to do subject to deals, then that's fine. I just don't want to do subject to deals. I can do everything that I need to do with a lease option and not have to worry about a due on sale clause because I wanted to do a subject to deal. Okay, so I don't do subject to deals. I also don't do wraparound mortgages because I'm in Tennessee. I'm not in Texas. Texas does a lot of wraps. I eat wraps. I don't do real estate wraps. But in a wraparound mortgage, imagine you have a mortgage in your hand. Hold on, let me turn my camera on for this. This is much better with the camera on. Hold on. Hey y'all, I'm pacing. Let me see if you can get you. Okay, so on a wraparound mortgage, imagine you have the mortgage here, or the seller has their mortgage right here. Okay, in a wraparound, you literally take another mortgage and wrap it around the original mortgage. Does that make sense? You take the mortgage in the seller's name, your attorney creates a new mortgage, and it wraps around the old mortgage. Now, the reason I don't really enjoy wraparound mortgages is because it looks weird on the title. Hold on, I'm going to stop my video so I don't distract you. It looks weird on the title because let's say it's a $100,000 house and there's a mortgage for $100,000, but then there's this wraparound mortgage for $100,000. A title company person, a title preparer person, a paralegal, maybe even an attorney, they'd see that and they'd go, wait a minute, why is there a $200,000 mortgage on a $100,000 house? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to anybody. And it's true, but it's because we've got basically two mortgages on the same house because we wrapped one mortgage with another mortgage. I don't do those because they're just weird and I don't have to. So I don't do subject to because I don't want the bank calling the note due, and I don't do wraps because I don't have to. I can get everything that I need done with a lease option. And it's very important for me that I do lease options and not a lease purchase, because a lease purchase says I am buying the house, I guarantee it, I'm going to close on this house in the future for this price, whereas a lease option says, I may not, I probably will, but if something happens, I'm not bound to doing it. Okay? So lease options just give me a little bit more flexibility. And, you know, I am a woman. I like to pull the woman card and change my mind. And maybe if I've got 5 or 10 years on this lease option, maybe in 5 or 10 years, I don't want the house anymore. Or maybe in 5 or 10 years, I'm a millionaire and I can just cash out the house and not worry about it. So I don't do lease purchases just so that I can keep my get out if I need to get out. So real quick review. A lease option is a really fancy rental agreement that gives us the opportunity to buy in the future. This is how we buy houses. Owner financing is when the owner finances the property to us, and this is how we buy houses. We sell houses and create a financing with lease options. We give other people the opportunity to buy the house from us in the future. You can call this a sandwich lease option if you want to, because technically we're going to buy it with lease option, we're going to sell it with the lease options, just like putting 2 pieces of bread on some ham. We got the house bought under a lease option and sold under a lease option. Okay, so this is how we handle the creative financing in my world. Now you're thinking, who in their right mind is going to want to do these deals? Yeah, sure, we know people with mortgages. Sure, we know people that rent their house. Sure, we know people who have free and clear houses. But who would agree to this thing? Well, I have some examples of. Hang on just a second. I need a piece of paper to write down some notes. Hold on just a second, y'all. Okay. So who in their right mind would do these deals? I'm going to give you 9 examples of 9 different people who would do these deals. This is the very first lease option house that I ever got under contract. It was February 27th of 2014, and I sat in the kitchen of this house for over an hour. I was with those poor people for over an hour, and I basically just puked out all the real estate information that I'd been learning over the last almost 6 months about how amazing this lease option was going to be and all these great things and everything that I was going to be able to do for them and blah, 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 blah. And do you know what they really cared about? The couple that owned this house were an older couple. They were an older couple. Tongue-tied. And they bought this house as their retirement house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And you can see here, this is not exactly a crack house. This is not an ugly little dinky house. This is a nice house. And they bought it as their retirement house. So when they had it as their retirement house, what happened was they had a daughter who's younger than I am, and she came home unexpectedly one day pregnant. And the house was not big enough for the couple, their daughter, and the new baby. Just wasn't big enough. It was not supposed to be a big family house. It was supposed to be a retirement house. So they were literally under a time crunch to get out of this house. Like, they'd already, by the time I'd talked to them, they'd already found a place to move into. They found a bigger house to rent, and they wanted to get moved before she was really big and pregnant. And so they wanted out from under this house. And they were in a hurry. They told me they owed $122,000 on this house, and it should be worth $135,000 or $140,000. So I said, fine, what's your monthly payment? They said $800 a month. I said, all right, I ought to be able to rent it for $1,000, maybe $1,100. And honestly, y'all, it was my very first deal. So if I made like $100 a month, I was going to figure that I basically hit a home run, and I was going to be thrilled, absolutely thrilled. So I signed the contract with them that night, and the next day, that was probably a Thursday, so maybe the next week, maybe on Tuesday or so, I put the house back up on Zillow. That's where I found it. They had the house on Zillow by owner, and I put it back up. They had it up for $135,000. I put it back up on Zillow for $145,000 because I just thought that's where the house should be priced. And within a week, I had a couple from Chicago who called me, and they said, we saw the house when it was $135,000, but now it's $145,000. What happened? And I said, I bought it, and I'm just trying to make some money. And they were like, well, we want to come down from Chicago and buy this house from you. Will you take $135,000? And I was like, and I knew that I had it under contract for $122,000. And even with my pal brain and my pal math, I knew that was about $13,000. And I was thinking, sure, $13,000 sounds great. So I didn't tell them I had it under contract for $122,000. I agreed, though. If they want to come down from Chicago and buy this house from me for $135,000, I was going to let them buy it. So they came down the very next day. The very next day. Hold on just a second. Okay. They came down the very next day from Chicago and said, we'll take it. I was like, okay. They said, the problem is we've got our house in Chicago on the market. We don't know how long it's going to take to sell it. So what if we rented this house from you until our house in Chicago sold? And I was like, sounds like a lease option. So you want to like pay me every month and then buy the house from me for $135,000, and I'll give you probably like what, a year to get it done? And they were like, yeah, sounds good. I said, would you give me $1,000 a month? They said, yeah, no problem. They wrote me a check that day for $3,000, paid 3 months rent in advance. This was in March. So they paid March, April, May. And I'll be doggone, y'all. They called me the next week and said, hey, Whit, guess what? Our house in Chicago is under contract, and we're going to close the 1st of May and just cash you out for $135,000 in May. And I went, yeah, right. Yeah, okay. I'm in real estate. I know how these things happen. Maybe yours in Chicago doesn't appraise. Maybe it fails inspection, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, okay, but we're going to close in May. And I said, okay, sure, fine, whatever. So they started moving all their stuff down from Chicago because they were renting the house from me. They paid me 3 months rent in advance. I didn't have a payment due until June. And they were happy. And guess what? The 1st of May rolled around. They closed their house, and by May 15th, they came and brought a cashier's check, and we had a closing set up. We actually went to the seller's office and closed this house. I made $15,000 on this deal, over $15,000, because I made $13,000, which was the difference of $122 and $135, and I made $3,000 a month in less than 8 weeks. And I got to tell you, I had $10 invested in this house, because in order for me to be technically a buyer so that I could sell the house as an owner, I had to have some money invested. I had to have consideration in the deal. I had to have a vested interest. And in the contract, it doesn't say there's a minimum of how much you have to have invested or as consideration or as a vested interest. There's not a dollar amount. You can write it in. And so my seller and I agreed on $10. I had control of this house for $10 invested. And 8 weeks later, I got a check for over $15,000. And then this house happened. I've been doing a bunch of deals, and I had a bandit sign. Y'all know what a bandit sign is? I had a bandit sign out that said I had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Newmarket that I was trying to sell. It was over on Susan Drive, and I had it at the four-way stop right down in the middle of town in Newmarket. And a guy called me, and he said, hey, I've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Newmarket. You want to buy it? And I said, sure. What does it look like? Where is it? How much do you owe on it? All these things. He said, no. Your sign says that you buy houses. So if you buy houses, you can buy my house. I'm going to be at your office in 10 minutes. Get your contract ready, and I'm going to give you the keys to my house when I get there. I was like, okay. Come on over. So sure enough, he gets there in 10 minutes. He asked me a couple different questions, like how he knew that the mortgage payment was going to be made. And I asked him a couple questions, like how much is the mortgage payment every month? He said $500. I was figuring I could rent this house for $700 or $800 a month. He signed the paperwork right there, and he said, but you'll probably have to chase down my crazy ex-wife, because that's why I want to sell this house. I said, what? He said, my ex-wife is crazy, and we're trying to get divorced, and the only way I can do it is if this house sells. The mortgage is only in my name, but I got to be able to say that it's gone so that I can get divorced. So let's make this happen as fast as possible. And I was like, again, okay. So I did have to go meet his ex-wife, and that was a drive up to Greenville, but I did it. And I got this house, started making the payments, $500 a month. I found somebody to move in. They pay $700 a month. So I only make $100 a month on this. But when they moved in, I got $10,000 when they moved in. So if I had one of these deals going every month, on the first one I made $15,000. On the second one I made $10,000. How many of you listening would like to make $10,000 or $15,000 every single month, part-time, or while you're doing your other job, or so you can quit your other job? Say yes in the comments. Yes. Yes. I got hearts going now. All right, awesome. And then this house happened. I'm telling y'all, this house is cursed, because I've sold this house 3 times. This is a nice house. It's also not a crack house. It's a boomerang house. It just keeps coming back to me. What happened on this house was there was a lady, and I can't remember if her first husband passed or if she got divorced, but anyway, she got remarried, and her new husband didn't want to move into her old husband's house. So she tried to sell it for sale by owner. She couldn't get anybody to buy it. She couldn't get anybody to buy it. I called her. I made her an offer. She didn't like it. She told me no. And then 2 months later, she called back and said, hey, is your offer still good? And I said, sure. So we filled out the contract, signed the paperwork. I told her I'd start making the payments in 3 months. She said, okay, fine, no problem, because she'd been making payments on an empty house for over a year. So just seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, just knowing that she only had to make 3 more payments, she was so relieved. Her new husband was so relieved too, because now they had all this extra money coming in every month, or not even that it was coming in, but that it didn't have to go back out. They're making a big old monthly payment on this house. And if they didn't have to make that monthly payment, that means they got to keep that money in their pocket every single month. So the first time I sold this house, I was pretty new, and I got down to the wire where I was going to have to start coming out of pocket to make these payments. So I had somebody offer me $5,000 to move in, and I said, okay, I won't do that anymore, all right? I learned I wanted people with big money to move into my houses, because what happened was he gave me $5,000 to move in, and 6 months later, he stopped paying the rent. This is the only house that I've ever had to evict anybody on. So I went through, and eviction procedure, I'll just tell you, is really easy. You email your attorney. You say, hey, so-and-so is not paying me at this address, and your attorney sends an eviction notice. Then your attorney files stuff with the court, and then bada bing, bada boom, you get the house back, and you can take it back over and get possession of it, and you're back in. Because you did a lease option, which is a really fancy rental agreement. Right? And if your tenant buyer fails on their part of the rental, you get the house back. So I got this house back in December of 2016. In January of 2017, I had a couple give me $15,000 to move in, which is a lot better than $5,000, I'm telling you. So I was getting my nails done in Georgia one day in January, and a couple put $15,000 in my bank account after I'd screened them, after I knew more about them, but still, I was not with them. They put the money in my account. I double-checked that the check had cleared. They moved in that weekend. The next weekend, they got married. By July 4th of 2017, they were divorced. And after they were divorced, neither one of them wanted that house anymore. So one of them stayed until September or something, but I had the house back in October. And in December, I sold it again for $12,000 this time. And I actually had a bidding war of $12,000. I had 2 people that both told me they had $10,000, and then I had to go back and forth $500 at a time all morning trying to decide who was going to bid more to be able to move in the soonest. So in 1 year on this house, I made $15,000 and $12,000. $27,000 on one house in a year. So if your goal is to do 1 deal a month, sometimes in the same year, you can do 1 deal a month on the same house and do it twice. I made over $10,000 twice in 2017 on the same house. I hope I don't get this house back again. So I bought all 3 of those houses and many, many more, but those are just the 3 examples I'm going to give you today of how I bought houses with a lease option, which is a really fancy rental agreement that also gives the buyer, me, the opportunity to buy the house in the future. Now, when I buy houses, I ask my sellers to give me 5 or 10 years to close. I ask them to give me plenty of time to close on these deals. And I do that because I know I may have 2 or 3 tenant buyers come through on this house. I only give my tenant buyers a year or 2 to cash me out of this house. So I have a long time before I have to, have a balloon payment due and cash out the house. But I give my tenant buyers a very short time to cash out the house. because I want them to improve their credit. I want them to establish their job history. I want them to work with a mortgage broker. I want them to do whatever possible to get this house into their name, because the sooner they do that, I get a back end payday. So I get these big option fees up front, and I make some money every month. I try to make at least $300. These houses I showed you, I only make, well, one of them I make $100 a month. Another one I make $300 a month. Which the other one I just make like $200. So these aren't making me a whole bunch of money every month. But if I have one option fee that comes in every month for $10,000 or $12,000, I still get to have that money every month. And then my rental income money is on top. It's a bonus, right? So I have a long term on the opportunity to buy, but I give my tenant buyers a short amount of time before they have to buy. Now let's talk about some owner financing deals. Let me get a sip of water. On owner financing deals, the owner or the seller, you call it seller financing if you want to. On owner financing deals, the owner becomes the bank, and they finance the sale of the property to you. And again, I'm asking for 10 or 15 years when I get owner financing. But on this first house, I didn't have to ask for anything. This is a lady I knew, and she offered this house to me. She called one day. I was actually, I'm the broker for Whitney Buys Houses, and a real estate firm has to have an office in a commercial building. So I found the cheapest commercial spot that I could find to put my firm in, and I stayed there for over a year. My landlord, though, she said, Whitney Buys Houses. So what do you do? And I was like, well, ma'am, I buy houses. And she said, I got a house. You want it? And I said, sure. Tell me about it. She said, well, the problem with this house is my husband and I, our best friend in Sunday school, their kid lives in this house. And their kid has fallen on some hard times, and he's lost his job, and she's pregnant, and we felt bad asking them to pay rent, but they've been in this house all year and haven't paid us any rent, and we'd really like to make some money on this house. And I was like, gosh, yeah, I see the problem there. And they were like, so we're thinking if we sell it to you, we can tell them that you bought it and you're going to make them pay rent, or we could tell them that they have to leave because you bought the house. And I was like, oh, so you're blaming all this on me? And they were like, exactly. We're going to blame all of this on you. And I was like, but I get the house? And they were like, yeah, you get the house. I was like, cool, blame it on me. Totally cool. Blame it on me. I don't care. So they did. And this was in August. Went and looked at the house, and we signed the contract that day, agreed on, what the monthly payment would be. And I ended up being able to buy this house and the lot next door. They threw the lot in next door. And this is in a pretty nice subdivision in Newmarket. And the lot next door is one of the only undeveloped lots in the subdivision. So I got this house and the lot next door, and I bought it with instant equity because I paid $30,000 less, got them to owner finance. They actually offered to owner finance it to me. And I bought it for $100,000 instead of $130,000, plus the other lot next door for probably $15,000. So I probably got $45,000 worth of value. And I got no interest because they weren't interested in making interest. They were interested in getting their money back every month. They were interested in getting rid of the headache from this property. They were interested in keeping their friendship alive. They weren't really interested in making interest on their money. And one thing I've learned is if you don't offer interest, people don't expect it. Now, you will have some sellers that say, well, how much interest am I going to make on this money? Well, none. My offer didn't include paying you interest. I thought you wanted this money. Do you want this money or do you want interest? Because I'll give you less and pay you interest, or I'll give you what you want and then you don't have to pay any interest. So that's how we handle the interest situation. Now, this is a different situation here. That's my brother in the picture there. And what's really cool about owner financing is, remember in the beginning, my mom thought what I was doing was illegal? Well, now my mom, actually yesterday, she sent me 2 seller phone numbers and she was like, hey, call these people, see if they'll owner finance this property to me. So who would like to help their mom buy some property? Who would like to be able to learn something really cool and then help their mom make more money, or help their mom do real estate deals? Like, who out there would like to help their mom? Because I know I would love to be able to help my mom do anything she wanted to do. And my mom is a real estate investor, but she didn't know how to do owner financing. So now she sends me leads all the time on properties. And she wants me to figure out if I can get an owner finance deal worked out for her so she can buy that property. And this is the latest example of me being able to help my mom buy some property. So this was an interesting situation. The family that owned this property that my brother is standing on, you can see it right there. What happened was their dad had bought this property many, many years ago, and he had passed. And when he passed, the property was inherited to his 2 kids. And so what do kids do when they inherit property that they don't really want? They don't want to build on it. They don't want to do anything with it. They just want the money, right? So what do? Tell me in the comments. What do people do when they inherit property that they don't really want? Exactly. They list it. They call a real estate agent and they list it. And they hope and pray that the agent can work some miracles and get the deal done for them, right? And then what happens when a year goes by and that agent that promised them the sun and the moon comes up with nothing? Then what happens? Exactly. They list it again. It expires and they list it again with another agent because the other agent tells them that they can promise the stars and the moon, right? And then another year goes by. And what do? Because it didn't sell with the second agent. Then what does the family do when they've inherited this property that they don't want, and now they paid taxes and insurance on it for 2 years after daddy passed? Now they put it up for sale by owner. They're tired of dealing with agents now, and they put it up for sale by owner, right? Exactly. Now they put it up for sale by owner. And what's one of my rules? I don't deal with agents. I want to help my mama, but I will not deal with agents. So I called, we worked out a deal. We ended up getting 10 years with no interest on this property. And my mom makes the payments, and this is in my mom's honey hole. And so she just wanted the property, and she agreed to make them payments and pay it off after 10 years. So again, 0% interest. She put no money down. She just started making payments to them, and all the payments go straight towards the principal that she owes, and she'll have it paid off in 10 years. So if you want to help your mom, I promise, learning this creative financing, learning this stuff, even if your mom asks you if it's illegal in the beginning, eventually you'll do enough deals and mama will come around and you'll be able to help her invest in her future as well, which is a really good feeling. And then once you know all this cool stuff, you can start buying houses for yourself. Y'all, I did 57 of these deals before I ever bought a house for myself. I lived in my mama's house for 3 years. I mean, I had 19 rental houses, and I still lived in my mom's house before I found my house. What's cool about this house, though, is when you find a house for yourself, you break all the rules. And guess what I did? I broke rule number 1. And I fell in love with this house. I fell in love with this house, and then I found out that the owners, the people that were trying to sell it, the sellers, then after I fell in love, I found out they owned it free and clear. And y'all, I was head over heels in love. I mean, I was just semi like lustful about it. Oh no. After I found out it was free and clear, it was like music to my ears. And I decided that house was mine. Mine. And then I broke another rule. You see that sign out front? That white sign? That's a real estate agent sign, which is rule number 2. I don't deal with real estate agents. I fell in love with a house that was listed by a real estate agent. So this is a cautionary tale. Do not fall in love with houses, especially when they're listed. I broke my own rules. The saving grace for this house is that it was vacant and they were free and clear on it. And I went and looked at it within 15 minutes. I mean, before I could get out of the subdivision, I had my agent, who's actually one of my students in First Deal Done Fast and lives in the area of this house. I had her submit an offer. No, scratch that. I had her submit 3 offers because every time I buy a house, every time I teach my ladies how to buy houses, I teach them to make 3 offers at the same time. All right. I'm not looking at one house and making 1 offer. I'm tripling my efforts by looking at one house and making 3 offers every single time. So I had my agent tell the other agent what my 3 offers were within 15 minutes because I was in love with this house. And guess what happened? Same thing that always happens when you fall in love and start professing your love before, it's time. You don't go on a first date and say, I love you, which is basically what I did. So I submitted our offers and my agent sent me a message back and she said that she finally got in touch with the other agent and made the other offers, and the other agent was really impressed that I'd actually offered seller financing. Everybody else that looked at this house had not offered seller financing. I said, because I flip and love it. I was in love with this house. I'm still in love with this house. And my agent has been an agent for 12 years, and she's only dealt with seller financing one other time. And it was, a deal that went really sour really fast, and it kind of left a bad taste in her mouth. But she'd been listening to me for so long, and she was in my course, and she was glad that she was going through this experience with me because it had allowed her to see a different side of real estate. And I'll tell you what, I still don't have this house, but this is my house. And I will have this house because in the last week, the house has expired. It's not on the market anymore. This house is on a lake in Florida. I'm in love with it. And so guess who is taking her tail down to Florida next week to see if she can hunt down these sellers and say, hey, y'all, let's make a deal. Because I'll tell you, when I broke my own rules and fell in love with this house and had 2 agents involved, that's what killed my deal. I know that's what killed my deal. If I can get in front of these sellers and I can talk to these sellers and I can present an owner financing, even the same 3 offers that I presented the first time, if I can talk to them person to person without the agents involved, this house is mine. I know this house is mine. So that's what you can do with owner financing. Not only can you help your mom, but you can help yourself too. So if you're interested in buying a house for yourself, your primary house, you can do it with owner financing. You can even buy nice lake houses. So again, these are the 4 rules that I have. And on my lake house, I broke rule number 1 because I fell in love. And I broke rule number 2 because I had 2 agents involved on my deal. Now, to recap, we're talking about lease options and owner financing. We will buy houses with lease options and we will buy houses with owner financing. Oh, I forgot to tell you about my house, how I came about it. Let me go back for a second. Hold on. Okay, so this house, the sellers on this house also have a couple other houses across the countryside. And they're retired and they basically want to live in their RV all the time. So they want to sell this house just because they don't want to have the upkeep of it anymore. Nothing wrong with the house. They just need to get rid of it downsize because they already got 2 or 3 other houses and they want to travel in their RV all the time. So if I can offer them payments every month, I know this house is mine. But I got to get where I can talk to them person to person instead of through all the agents. Okay, so we buy with lease options, we buy with owner financing, and we sell with lease options. Now, when I get this house, I won't sell this house on a lease option. I will buy it. I will live in it. This will be my house, and everything will be hunky-dory. But let me tell you another story about a different house that I bought. This is also a very nice house. This is a new construction house. This is not a little dinky house. A lot of people, I don't know why, but when they start talking to me about creative financing or lease options or whatever, they have this preconceived notion that it has to be an ugly little $20,000 piece of nothing. And that's not true. That's not true at all. In fact, this house is the house that my husband lives in Georgia. And this house had been on the market since April. They finished construction on it in April of 2016. And it sat on the market, brand new house, sat on the market until October when we drove through the neighborhood and found it. We found it. We loved it. We made 3 offers on it. And as we were making 3 offers on it, because we were talking to the builder also lived in the subdivision. We were talking to the builder about this house, and he told us that he was making payments on this house because in this neighborhood, they'd built all these houses. They'd borrowed money from a private investor in the town. And when they borrowed that money, they were having to make payments, big payments on an empty house. So what did I do? When I made my offers, I made a cash offer and I made 2 lease option offers. I told them, you know what? We'll rent this house if you'll give us some time to get the mortgage done, because we were trying to move Jason from another house into this house. And, there's this headache in real estate. We got to sell this house and move into this house, and it's all got to happen within a certain amount of time. And it's just really, really stressful, right? So to alleviate that, I told them we would start renting this house. We'd move in next weekend. That way we could start getting the stuff out of the old house and we could let it sell. And as soon as it sold, the people could move in and everything would be good. It would make the timeline flow a lot better, right? So the builder said, okay, fine. And he gave us, I think, a year to get the mortgage on this house. We moved in, started making payments, which helped him because he was already making payments to the private money lender. And it helped him because now he's got a house off his books and we can close on it anytime in the next year. And Jason ended up buying this house. Jason does have a mortgage on this house and he bought it. I think it took him 6 or 7 months to actually buy it. But this is another example of how you can buy a primary house for yourself using a lease option. This is a brand new construction, brand new build, and we worked out a lease option deal on it. I also like to say that this house is mine because, let's be honest, y'all, my husband lives there, and I'm nesting in there, right? I decorated a little bit. It is not my house. I am not on the mortgage on that house, but it's my husband's house, and I like to sleep with him, so I stay there a lot. This is definitely his house. So if you want a primary house or if you want investment houses, lease options work either way. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. All right, because my mama taught me that you could only buy houses with cash. You had to save up your money and you had to, whatever you had in cash, that's what you used to buy houses. This is real money. Real hundreds that you put in your bank account, and then you go to a closing and you transfer, you get a wire transfer, you get a cashier's check, and you buy the house with money. Okay? That's what it means when you buy a house with cash. You don't actually bring like $500 and meet at McDonald's parking lot and sign some paperwork and then it magically changes. No, you have to go to an attorney or a title company or whatever kind of state legal system your state has to transfer title. But there's no banks, there's no financing, there's no liens, there's nothing. It's just cash and you're done. Because honestly, sometimes some of these deals are just so cheap, it doesn't make sense to get a lease option or an owner finance deal. And I'm going to give you 3 examples of what I mean when I bought houses with cash. A sip of water. All right, this is the very first house that I ever bought. And if you've heard me talk about my blue porch house, this is the one. So what happened with this house is an older couple inherited this house from her mother. Her mother and father lived in this house since like 1930 when it was built. And then when mom had passed, this lady inherited the house. But her and her husband already had a house. And they didn't want to move back to mom's old house. So what did they do? They put it up for sale by owner. There was a for sale by owner sign at the bottom of my hill on the street that I lived on for like a year and a half. I kept seeing this red and white sign that said for sale by owner. But I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know anything about lease options. It was 2012 when I first started seeing the sign. And then in the summer of 2013, which if you're taking notes, was before I even joined the Real Estate Investors Association. So I knew nothing about lease options. I knew nothing about owner financing. All I knew was what my mama had taught me, and that you save up all your cash and you buy houses and eventually you get your money back. No formulas, no strategies, no nothing. So the summer of 2013, the people that inherited this house, they were frustrated. When people get frustrated, they put their house up for auction. So I was driving home one day and I was auctioneer, and it was actually the company that I was working for as an auctioneer. They were out putting up an auction sign. So I went over there, looked at the house, and I was like, I'm going to buy this house. So day of the auction came and my mom went and she bid for me, and because I was scared, I'd never bought a house before at auction, and I ended up buying this house for $33,000. I think after closing costs and everything, I was $35,000 in real estate. I found something that I can do now to get these deals done. I can still make my family proud of me. I can still be setting up stuff for future generations, but I can also make them proud of me now and still have my time freedom. Now let's talk about your leads. If you're in real estate right now already and you know that you need leads so that you have deals, because it's deals that take you to the closing table. If you don't have a lot of leads coming in, you're not going to be doing a lot of deals. So when you get these deals, then you got to be making a lot of offers. You got to be signing a lot of contracts. But it all starts with the leads. So now this is a yellow letter. It's a letter on a yellow piece of paper that says, hey, I want to buy your house. Call me if you want to get rid of it quickly. You drop that little puppy in the mail and it works like a little ninja. People call back from these letters. These things work, and they work really well. People call back and say, hey, sounds great. When can you buy my house? I've been thinking about selling it. Awesome. We can close next week. You can get leads from these yellow letters. And these yellow letters, this picture right here, this thing does double duty, because your friends, that's your third secret that I'm going to share with you. But if you'll write these letters and take these letters and take a picture of it and post it up on Facebook, and when you drop these letters in the mail, or anytime you do any little anything in real estate, even if it's the most mundane, boring, like monotonous crap, you take a picture of that thing and put it up on Facebook, and then suddenly you're going to have leads coming in from Facebook. Because I'll tell you what happened, which is really funny. I was sending out yellow letters, and I was putting pictures of it up on Facebook, and I would tag my mom. Anytime I was doing anything, I would just tag my mom. Well, that meant my mom's friends saw these pictures that I was tagging her in, and they started seeing these yellow letters. And one day, one of my mom's friends got a yellow letter from one of my competitors. Can you believe that? Somebody was mailing to my honey hole. Rude, right? But the coolest thing is this lady sent my mom a message, and she was like, hey, I need to talk to Whitney. So mom connected us, and I was talking to this lady, and she said, hey, I got a letter from so-and-so, and they want to buy my rental house, but I'm not going to call them back because I know you send out these letters too. And whenever I get ready to sell this house, because my kids aren't interested in real estate, whenever I get ready to sell this house, I'll sell it to you. And I said, awesome. Thank you. I didn't even have to waste that stamp. I just put a picture up on Facebook, and the lead came back to me. Because your friends have houses that they don't want. Your friends have kids that aren't interested in real estate, and your friends are a good source of leads. But that's getting too far into secret number 3. Let's stay on your leads real quick too. Okay, this is a picture of my bandit sign. And a bandit sign is those signs out on the side of the road that say, usually it says, we buy houses cash, I buy houses cash, fast close, blah, 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 blah. You've seen them. They're handwritten. They're at all the 4-way stops. They're up on telephone poles. Sometimes they're out in the grass, blah, 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 blah. That's what a bandit sign is. But these are my bandit signs. Look a little bit different, don't they? I also use my bandit signs differently. They're pre-printed. They say Whitney buys houses. They got all my information on there because I have to have all my information on there because I'm a real estate agent, and I have to have my firm name and my firm phone number on everything. And Whitney Buys Houses is the name of my firm. So I got my bandit signs with my logo and all my stuff on it, and it's good to go. Actually, got in trouble. The Tennessee Real Estate Commission called me. Apparently, my competition, when I was doing the handwritten signs, my competition kept turning me in because my signs were so ugly. And they were turning me in because my signs were ugly, because they were thinking that I didn't have everything on the signs that were supposed to be according to the law. But I did. And so the Real Estate Commission called me and said, hey, would you please get some pre-printed signs made up because your people are killing us. Okay, fine. And technically, because I'm an owner agent on these houses, down there in the pink, I also write owner agent on there so that the public and everybody knows that I'm an agent and I'm the owner on these houses. But I use these signs when I have a house for sale. I don't really use these signs when I'm trying to buy houses. But reverse psychology works. When you put these signs up that say, hey, I've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Newmarket, other people with a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that they'd like to sell in Newmarket will call you because you already have one like theirs. They'll call you. And when they call, you can buy their house. Remember, that's how I bought the house, the second house on Lease Option in Newmarket. The guy was getting a divorce. He saw my bandit sign for another house that I had for sale and called. And you can do this too. Because you don't have to write on the bandit signs what the gurus tell you to write. I've got lots of examples of different things that you can write on these signs that work better than the typical, I buy houses cash, we buy houses, blah, 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 blah. That crap don't work. Sellers see that stuff all the time. And it just gets annoying and they don't call on them. You got to get clever. You got to get creative. You got to do some different things. But you also, you got to have a honey hole. And a honey hole is where we make the money, honey. Right? It's the place in town where you go and you get all the deals because you want to be the queen bee of this little hive. You want to be, catching fish in a barrel. You don't want to be trying to hunt the whole ocean. You want to know exactly where you can go with laser focus and get the most deals the fastest. And that's what we call a honey hole. Now, if you see that smiley face right there, that is downtown Knoxville. And if you're in Knoxville, if you're familiar with Knoxville, you know that all of the activity, all the flipping activity, all of the, big fancy deals, they're going on in West Knoxville. And I think downtown Knoxville is West Knoxville. I don't want to go to West Knoxville. I don't want to be out there. All my competition is out there. I want to go find somewhere where I'm the only person making offers to these sellers. It's like being in my own little sandbox out here in East Knoxville. And you'll see, it's almost, I don't really have so much of a honey hole as I've got a straight line. From the smiley face, let's see, where's my pointer? From the smiley face, straight this way, following Rutledge Pike, and then skipping over through Mascot and back up Asheville Highway, that's where I buy. Anywhere within a mile of Rutledge Pike up to Mascot Road, Mine Road, and then over on Asheville Highway within a mile from Strawberry Plains to Morristown, that's where I like to buy. And if you'll see here, these pink triangles, those are my houses. The red hearts, these are my mom's houses. And the black circles here, these are my apartments. That's an apartment, two apartment complexes right there. This is my mom's office right here, the heart where I used to be trucking every day. And then the black circle up here, this is my triplex in Morristown. Oops, go back. So once you have a honey hole and you can send these letters to your honey hole, then suddenly you don't have to be driving around town everywhere. I see and talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, I'll buy houses anywhere. I'll buy anything. I'll talk to anybody who'll talk to me. No. You're going to waste so much time. Because I can go to my honey hole and I can drive around for an hour or two and find 20 or 30 houses and make 3 offers on all of those. So I make 40 or 60 offers in 2 hours. Whereas when you don't have a honey hole, you end up driving around for 20 hours and making 4 offers. So having a honey hole and being able to find your honey hole is crucial to being a real successful real estate investor. You have to have a honey hole, because then when you put your bandit signs out, everybody knows you. Everybody knows you on a first name basis. Everybody knows Whitney buys houses, because I can put 2 or 3 signs out, and then by 5 o'clock or shift change, everybody in town knows that I got a new house available. And that's how you become a big fish in a small pond. And that's how I was able to do 14 deals in my very first 9 months, because I had a honey hole. I knew exactly where to go to make that money, honey. And that's what I teach my ladies to do. All right, this is Sherry. She's one of the very first ladies that I started coaching back in 2017. And Sherry's an amazing story. I love to tell her story because she's a cleaning lady. She owns a cleaning company. She cleans vacation rental cabins in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And she was able to get this house right here, a $300,000 vacation house. She bought it with a lease option with no money down, 90 days before her first payment was due. And I think on this one, she's got 15 years. Yeah, she's got 15 years to pay this thing off. That's pretty cool, right? Well, the best part is her payment on this property, and she got this lead because she's a clean lady and she was cleaning this house, and she was just talking to the seller one day, and the seller was like, we just hate dealing with the property management, the upkeep of this house, and we just want to not have to deal with it anymore. She said, well, what's your monthly payment? And they said, it's $1,500. She said, well, I'll buy it from you, and I'll make that $1,500 a month payment. Y'all, this house right here rents on a vacation rental program between $10,000 and $15,000 a month. A month. In the good months. Now, some slower months, maybe it rents for $5,000 or $6,000 a month. But her payment is $1,500. So how many of you would like to, even if it's just 6 or 7 or 8 months, how many of you would like to do one deal that brings $10,000 to $15,000 a month? Say yes in the comments if you want a $10,000 to $15,000 deal every single month. Yes. Yes. The best part is Sherry has 6 of these houses. And not only does she have 6 of these houses bringing her money every month, Sherry has never sent out a yellow letter. She's never put up a bandit sign. Sherry just talks to people. She talks to everybody. She lets everybody know that she buys houses. And buddy, does she buy houses. Like, she is an amazing house buyer. She's a machine out there buying houses, vacation rentals. And it's such a joy to see somebody get out there and make these deals happen and make their money. And in less than a year, she was able to sell her cleaning business and be a full-time real estate investor. Anybody a wholesaler? Are you a wholesaler and maybe you're watching this? Because if you're a wholesaler, this next story is for you. This was a gentleman who'd been trying to wholesale for about a year, and he just wasn't having any luck. So he started working with me one-on-one, and then he came to an event. I do Whitney's Wealth Workshops. Used to be Whitney's Weekend Workshops, but Whitney's Wealth Workshops now. And he came to one of my events for the weekend, went home, and in less than a month, he closed his first 2 deals. And he wholesaled the first one, made enough profit on wholesaling the first house that he was able to buy the second house with cash. And he walked away with money in his pocket. He literally made money for buying a house. That's super cool because, you know, I showed you earlier on some of my deals, when you buy a house with cash, you can sell it on a lease option. He already owns this house. He got this house for free, y'all. Anybody want a house for free? Of course, who doesn't want a house for free? He can sell this house, and the first time somebody pays rent or gives him an option fee, he is in the money, honey. He had to find a honey hole, though. He had to learn how to make 3 offers every time he looked at a house. And that's what we do. We get first deals done fast, and we get first deals done finally. So this brings me to your online friends. This is secret number 3. Your online friends and your friends on Facebook, you have more than enough friends on Facebook to be able to buy a house every single month for the rest of your life. All you got to do is start telling them that you want to buy houses. And I have a 7-day lead challenge. So if you don't know how to say I buy houses, you need some examples of pictures to put up. I've got a 7-day lead challenge on whitneynicely.com/store. There's a 7-day lead challenge. It's my most popular product, and it'll teach you, I think it's like $25 or something. It'll teach you how to talk to your online friends for 7 days, how to tell them and introduce them to you becoming a real estate investor. And the coolest thing is, not only do I give you this for 7 days, I give you 3 different ways to put each post up. So I basically give you 21 posts. And do you know how long it takes to create a habit? 21 days. So I give you everything you need to create a new habit of letting your people know that you want to buy houses and doing it in a way that isn't slimy or scammy. And trust me, there's people on your friends list that have houses that they don't want. This is from Janine. Janine's in California, and California's a hot market, but she was going through the 7-day lead challenge, and on the very first day, she put up a post, and within 24 hours, she was on the phone with an old sorority sister who had a house in Virginia, close to where Janine's, I think, father-in-law lives. And Janine was going out there in the next couple of weeks. This lady, her sorority sister, had a house that they'd been transferred, and they just didn't need the house anymore. So what did Janine say? Awesome, I'll buy it from you. I'll start making your payments on it. Soon as your tenants move out, I'll start making the payments on it. That's what happens, and it can literally happen in 24 hours. This is Daisy. She's in New Mexico. She started the 7-day lead challenge, started telling her people on Facebook that she buys houses, and literally within 24 hours, like as soon as she started, within 2 or 3 hours, she sent me a message. She was like, oh my gosh, make it stop. I'm getting so many leads. I can't keep up with all of them. And I was like, no, don't stop. Keep going. Keep those leads coming in. Buy all the houses and make all the money you can. But it's so much fun. And it's so, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's simple. Real estate investing is simple. It is not easy. I will never say that this is an easy thing to do. And you have to have some persistence and some commitment. But it is a simple step-by-step process once you know what to do. Oh, and I forgot to tell you with Sherry. No, did I tell you? She's never sent a yellow letter. She's never sent a bandit sign. So all that stuff that you think you need to do, it's not true. You can get your leads by talking to people and posting on Facebook. Or you can do like Leslie. Leslie sends yellow letters and then posts the properties she gets on Craigslist. Leslie went from doing no deals and working part-time for her best friend to making $40,000 in less than 12 weeks. She did 3 deals and made $40,000 in less than 12 weeks. And I'll tell you, when I got started, I didn't make $40,000 in my first 12 weeks. So Leslie beat me, make more money than I did in the 12 weeks. But it was because I went through all these headaches of figuring out how, as a lady, you need to negotiate and you need to sell these properties like a lady. And I'm so proud of Leslie. I'm so proud of all my ladies. Like, they're absolutely out there kicking ass and taking names every single day, making their money, living their dreams, and showing the good old boys how we can rock it as a lady. So those are my 3 secrets. You got to have a strong why. You got to have leads, because your leads turn into deals. And you got to have friends. And not just friends to motivate you and encourage you, but your friends have all the leads that you need. And that's how we get these deals done. So I teach women now. I'm only teaching women, and this is at my last event in February. I was actually teaching these ladies how to buy apartments up to 20 units, again, with no money, no banks. And people ask me all the time, Whitney, why do you only teach women? Like, what's the deal? You don't like men? To be honest with y'all, I already have one husband to train, and I just don't feel like training anybody else's husband. I'm wore out, y'all. You need to train your own husband. But no, the real reason that I love to work with women is because I look around at these RIA meetings, I look around at closings, I look around at conferences, and women are in the minority. There's not enough strong women out there leading the charge. There's strong women in every market buying houses and doing deals and getting it done, but there's not as many teaching. And I was blessed to have a mom that was a real estate investor. I was blessed with a strong female lead in my life that said, you can buy houses, you can have real estate, you can have passive income, you can do all of this. My mom never said, no, you need to play it safe. My mom never said that to me. But a lot of women grew up thinking that real estate was a man's game, and real estate needed to be something that their husband did, and real estate needed this and that and the other. But then they see in their heart that they want to be a real estate investor. And they want to be surrounded by other women who are investing. And I want to be the woman that other women look at and say, you know what? Whitney buys houses and I can too. Whitney's buying apartments and I can too. Whitney can teach me how to do this. Whitney figured out how to do it as a woman. I want Whitney to teach me how to do this. And that's why I help women. I want to empower and encourage women to get their passive income set up, so they can either tell their boss to shove it, or if their boss is their mom, so they can just kind of say, you know what, I'm out, and still keep a good mom relationship going. I want to help women so that if a bad day happens and their husband leaves, I want them to know that they can do this. They can survive. They've already got their money set up. They've already got their retirement set up. They've already got everything taken care of for themselves. I want them to have the pride and the confidence for themselves that they know that they can take care of themselves and not have to depend on somebody else. And then I want to teach these women so they can teach their children and they can teach their little girls, and they can teach their little boys, and they can pass on this wealth of information to their kids. Not just pass on the money or the properties, but the actual knowledge of how to keep this boat going. And women are smart, and women are tough, and women impress me every single day. And I love being able to help them get their money in order and get their deals done. So that's why I work with women. Now, I do have an event coming up in April. It is on private money. So I have a lot of rich women actually that come to me and they're like, hey, I have $100,000 in my 401k or my IRA, but I don't really want to spend it. Or you know what? I would spend it, but I don't know how to spend it, or I don't know where to put it that I'm going to get the biggest return. And then I have other women that come up to me and they say, you know what? I've got a $100,000 line of credit, but I don't know what I should do with it. Or they say, I've got a friend with $500,000 and I want to be able to help my friend make more money because their money is in an IRA or a 401k right now, and it just isn't making them any money. It's making like 2%. And I know that if I knew what to do with their money, I could probably go buy some houses and help them make 6 or 8 or 10% on their money. So in April 5th, 6th, and 7th, I'm having an event in Asheville, North Carolina, all on private money. And whether you have private money right now or you have access to people with money, whatever, we're going to cover that in April in Asheville, North Carolina. My friend April Crosley is actually going to be leading that event because she is an expert in legally borrowing other people's money and reinvesting it into real estate. It's going to be an amazing time. And if you're interested in the April event, send me a message and I'll be glad to get you signed up. We have 5 seats available for the April event. And sometimes even, when I do owner financing and lease options, I do the creative stuff. Sometimes I run into a house that needs to be flipped. And if I could borrow $50,000 from somebody else and pay them back and know that their money was secured by real estate, that would just make me feel better. So April is going to teach us all how to do this because money happens and money helps. So we're going to learn how to use other people's money in the best way possible for both of us in April 5th, 6th, and 7th. So now, just imagine with me for a minute. Imagine if you did 1 deal a month. That's all I ask my ladies to do is 1 deal a month because women already have 18 other unpaid jobs. They've already got lots of things going on. They've got husbands, they've got kids, they got ex-husbands, they got grown kids, they got young kids, they've got moms, they got dads, they got jobs, they got church. They've got lots of things going on. And I don't want real estate to be overwhelming. And it can be overwhelming really quick. But I try to keep it as simple as possible. And the way I do that is I want them to do 1 deal a month. Because if you can do 1 deal a month and you can get about $10,000 a month as an option fee, that's a pretty good month, right? A lot of people, especially in Knoxville, Tennessee, don't make $10,000 a month. But if you can do this and get that option fee in, and you can take over somebody's payments and create a $300 a month spread between what your payment is to the bank on the mortgage and what you can rent it for. So say your payment's $700 and you can rent the house for $1,000. That's $300 a month that you get to keep. And that's not a big spread. That's not asking for a whole lot. If they're paying $1,000 and you can rent it for $1,500, there's $500 a month that you get. That's better than the average that I'm asking for. But if you can do 1 deal a month and make $10,000 on an option fee every single month and create a minimum of $300 a month on every single deal that you do for 24 months, for 2 years. I mean, 2 years is less than it took you to get your college degree. 2 years is longer than a lot of my boyfriends lasted. Like, it's not that long. 2 years is not that difficult. It's not 40 years. It's not 20 years. Just for 2 years, you will make $240,000 in option fees. $10,000 a month for 24 months is $240,000. And in Knoxville, that's more than people make in 2 years at their salary job, working to 5 on Fridays. Plus, If you're making $300 and you did one deal a month, so 300 times 24, that's $7,200 a month in rent. So on your 24th month, you should make $17,000 that month because you got $10,000 in your option fee and you got $7,200 coming in every single month. In 2 years, if you're making $7,200, a lot of people will tell their boss to shove it. Because if you're doing that part-time on your side job on the weekends, you only have to do it for 1 more year before you're making $10,000 a month in rental income. And you don't need that $10,000 in option fees anymore. I only ask for 1 deal a month because it adds up really quickly. 1 deal a month for 36 months gets you to over $10,000 a month in rental income. Gets you to $360,000 in option fees. That's some good money right there, y'all. So I'd like to introduce you to First Deal Done Fast because I can't cover everything right here, right now. The only way I can cover this stuff is working together with you. I created First Deal Done Fast. There's a workbook that goes with it. There's videos. There's everything to explain exactly how I want you to talk to sellers, exactly how I want you to write the yellow letters, exactly what I want you to put on the bandit signs, how to find your honey hole, how you need to negotiate like a lady, how you need to fill out the contracts, how do you find an attorney, all these questions that you have. I'm going to answer all of those. And I answer them in First Deal Done Fast. And even if you are experienced in real estate, I say this all the time. If you've done lots of real estate deals, you can still do First Deal Done Fast. It's just your First Deal Done Fast with Whitney. But even if you have no real estate experience, First Deal Done Fast was created for women who do not have a license, even though I do have a lot of agents in First Deal Done Fast, which is really cool because they're ahead of the curve for the rest of the agents in their area. But women who want to buy houses without going to the bank, without anybody checking their credit, without having to put any big money down, women who don't want to flip, women who just want to add an extra $10,000 a month to their income, women who want to set up their retirement, women who want to have something fun to do. Because real estate can be fun, and it doesn't have to be complicated. And that's the goal of First Deal Done Fast. Also, I hate when you sign up for courses and things, I hate it when you sign up and then the next thing the person does, they ask you to buy this and sign up for that, and then they just start nickel and diming you for every little thing that you can imagine under the sun. Oh, no. We do things different at First Deal Done Fast. I'm actually going to send you a welcome package with everything you need to get these deals done. I'm going to send you this workbook. I've got another book, She Conquered. I've got a dictionary. I got a packet of papers that I'm going to send you. I've got a yellow pad of paper. I'm going to send you markers so that you can make bandit signs. Like, I'm going to give you everything that you need. I'm going to send you buttons. I'm going to send you everything so you can get started getting these deals done fast. And you can immediately sign in and start watching the videos. You can immediately get started. All you got to do is go to firstdealdonefast.com, and there's 2 different options there. If you do a full pay, it's $19.97, or if you're a little tight on cash right now, the price of First Deal Done Fast is $3,000, and you can break it up into 3 monthly payments of $9.97. You can learn everything that I know over the weekend if you want to with First Deal Done Fast. Go to firstdealdonefast.com. And there's 2 different blue buy buttons. You can use the payment plan, or you can pay in full and save $1,000. And if you pay in full, you can go to PayPal and use PayPal credit and get 6 months with no interest, so that you have plenty of time to get your first deal done fast. firstdealdonefast.com. Now, when I started in real estate, my favorite Bible verse was Matthew 17:20, which says that if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains, which I felt like when I was starting, I was moving mountains to get people to agree to do these deals with me. And then I was at a Bible study one night, and we were doing a Proverbs 31 Bible study and learning how to become a Proverbs 31 woman. And I found verse 16, which says, she goes to inspect a field and she buys it. With her earnings, she plants a vineyard. And to me, y'all, this verse just sang to my heart. Because to me, this verse says that she goes to inspect a field and she buys it. She doesn't ask her husband for permission. She doesn't ask her daddy for the money to get it done. No, this lady goes out. She knows her market. She's got a honey hole. She knows what things are worth. She goes out. She negotiates. She writes the contract and she buys it. Then with her earnings, she plants a vineyard to create generational wealth so she can drink a bunch of wine. That's what it says to me. You can interpret it some other way. But to me, this is a strong woman with her stuff together. And she's ready to go out, buy these fields, create generational wealth, and drink a bunch of wine. All you need is to get that first field. All you need is to get that first deal done. And the faster you can get that first deal done, the more encouraged you're going to be, the bigger your confidence is going to be, the higher you're going to be soaring. And the faster you can get this done, the faster you're going to be able to wave a shut up check in everybody's face who doubted you. First Deal Done Fast has worked for small business owners, stay-at-home moms, corporate ladies, accountants, doctors, and anyone who wants to get passive income set up on autopilot and have some fun in real estate at the same time. Also, all the hard work has been done for you in First Deal Done Fast so that you get the ease of implementation and you can speed up your results. I want you to get that first deal done fast so that you're hungry to get more, because it's like an adrenaline rush. You start helping these sellers, you start helping these buyers, you start, seeing improvement in the whole community. Your bank account starts getting bigger and you just get more excited to get these deals done. I want you to get up off the couch, get out there and start getting these deals done fast, because the faster you get them done, the faster you can get to the next deal so you can make even more money. And I took all the hard work out of it for you. So if you're wondering, I left you hanging a little bit on my little romance story earlier. When we left, I had a boyfriend who was telling me that I wouldn't be successful and I would never be able to get these deals done, and I'd wasted all my money learning about lease options, and I dumped him in a Krispy Kreme parking lot. But 2 weeks later, he came back. He came back like men do when they know they've met their match. And he came back with a vengeance. And he signed us up for apartment school. And 2 weeks later, we were in apartment training class, because he's not really crazy about buying houses, but he does like buying apartments. So 3 months after we kissed and made up, we closed on 3 apartment deals. And then we closed the big deal in October of 2015. Less than 2 years from when I started this crazy adventure, my whole life had changed. I'd gone from making $24,000 a year to almost $24,000 a month. I got my deals, I got my man, I got my time freedom, and now I'm ready to help you get your deals done fast. This is one of the books, She Conquered. It comes in First Deal Done Fast when you order First Deal Done Fast, or you can just order She Conquered on my website, whitneynicely.com/store. And I'm also going to give you buttons when you order First Deal Done Fast. If you're still not sure that First Deal Done Fast is for you, I have a case study video that you can go to getyourfirstdeal.com. Drop your email address and your name on getyourfirstdeal.com, and I'll email you a case study and then more of my story, so you can really see what I did to be able to get these deals done. Go to getyourfirstdeal.com. But if you're ready to get your first deal done fast, go to firstdealdonefast.com. I'll send you the buttons. I won't send you Abby the Labby, but I'll send you one of these pretty pink packages and the buttons that say I buy houses. So you can get out there and get your deals done fast. Also, let's be friends, y'all. This doesn't have to be the end of our relationship. Send me a friend request on Facebook. Follow me, subscribe on YouTube. I'm trying to get my YouTube rankings up, so please go to youtube.com/Whitney Nicely. Subscribe. I put out lots of different videos, so subscribe on YouTube, and then follow me on Instagram also. I put different stuff on Instagram than I do on Facebook, and it can get kind of interesting. If you need to get a hold of me, though, you can always go to whitneynicely.com. If you're looking for speakers for an event, I would love to come and teach real estate to your people. If you and your son or your husband want to have me come visit you for the weekend, I'd be glad to do that. Also, all the information that you need about me is on whitneynicely.com, and I would love to be friends. So please find me in all these little places. And if you have any questions, please, please, please put them in the comments. Put them in the comments. Or if you have questions, you're welcome to send a message or check out I have like 621 videos on YouTube, so maybe I explain it there. But I will tell you that the videos on YouTube, even though there's 621 videos up there right now, none of those videos are part of First Deal Done Fast. None of those videos are going to actually teach you how to get your first deal done fast. The stuff that I have up on YouTube is really good stuff, but it's not going to teach you a step-by-step system. The only way you're going to get a step-by-step system of how to get your first deal done fast is to go to firstdealdonefast.com and sign up for the self-study program. There's 2 different payment options, and if you're not really into courses or self-study programs or anything like that, if you want to spend the day with me, I'd be more than happy to do that with you. All the information that you need to book me or sign up for First Deal Done Fast or Apartment Blitz or anything that you need, it's on whitneynicely.com. If you have any questions, please, please, please let me know. Reach out. Let me know what your question is, and I'll be glad to help you be on your way to getting your first deal done fast. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate this, and let me know what kind of questions you have. Bye, y'all.